I thought I was happy. Then I found out. My boyfriend has been cheating on me after I accidentally snooped. Here's how I learned the truth. I don't know where to begin. I guess I should start with the fact that I've never been the jealous type. I've always been the kind of person who trusted their partner, and I assumed they'd return that trust. But after what happened, I can't help but question everything, and I'm left wondering if I've been blind to the signs for months. Let me start from the beginning. I've been with my boyfriend, Mark, for nearly 3 years. We met when we were both in our late 20s, me working in marketing, him as a freelance web developer. We hit it off instantly, bonding over our shared love of hiking, our long, random conversations, and just how easy everything felt. He made me feel special, like I was the only one who mattered. We'd even talked about moving in together, maybe getting a dog, and eventually starting a family. But recently, something just felt off. It started small. Mark became distant. He was always on his phone, texting or scrolling through social media, which wasn't like him before. He used to be pretty attentive, always asking how my day was going or sending cute texts during lunch. But over the past few months, it was like he was almost checked out. At first, I chalked it up to work stress. He'd been picking up more freelance gigs, and I assumed he was just tired or distracted. But then I noticed little things, like how he started canceling plans last minute or how he'd be texting someone at odd hours of the night. It wasn't blatant. It wasn't like he was out late every night or acting shady, but it was enough to make me raise an eyebrow. But I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I trusted him. I kept telling myself that everything was fine. But deep down, I had this nagging feeling that something wasn't right. Here's where the snooping comes in, and I'll be the first to admit it. I shouldn't have done it, I know. But in the moment, I was so overwhelmed with doubt that I couldn't help myself. One night, Mark was taking a shower, and I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone. His phone was lying on the coffee table, face up, and for some reason, I decided to pick it up. I know. I didn't intend to go through his messages. I told myself I was just checking to see if he'd gotten any important notifications. But when I unlocked his phone, he never bothered to set a password, the first thing I saw was a series of texts from a contact I didn't recognize. The name was just a first name, Emma, but the conversation caught my attention. The texts were flirty, playful, and personal in a way that made me feel sick. Emma, can't wait to see you tonight. Mark, I'm counting down the hours, babe. Can't get enough of you. Emma, you're so bad I love it. Just wait until I see you. I had to stop myself from reading further. I felt like I was suffocating. My mind raced. Who was Emma, and why was my boyfriend texting her like this? I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore it. I scrolled up to see the full conversation. There were texts from weeks ago, some flirty banter, and then things started getting physical. When are you going to let me take you out again? I miss you. You look so hot in that dress. Wish I could have been there. My stomach was in my throat. I couldn't breathe. I started shaking, almost numb with disbelief. I thought about putting the phone back and pretending I never saw anything, but I couldn't. Something inside me told me to keep going. I needed to know the truth. I scrolled further. There was a photo attached, just a glimpse of a woman's face, her smile radiating in the picture, and there was no mistaking it. She wasn't just some friend. She wasn't just someone he knew from work. This was more than that. I was sick to my stomach. It was like a switch had flipped. All the little doubts, all the little moments I'd brushed off, suddenly clicked into place. Mark's phone buzzed again, snapping me out of my trance. It was another text from Emma. And this time, it was different. She was asking when he would be over at her place. The text read, Emma, I miss you so much, I want you tonight. When are you coming over? I can't wait any longer. I sat there, frozen, holding his phone, staring at the screen. It felt like I was living in a nightmare. I had just uncovered the truth about what had been happening behind my back. But even though I knew what I had to do, I couldn't bring myself to confront him right then. I couldn't face it. So I sat there in a daze, trying to figure out my next move. Mark came out of the bathroom a few minutes later, towel around his waist, humming a song. He didn't seem to notice the tension in the room. I was still holding his phone, my hands shaking. He sat down next to me, as if everything was normal, and started flipping through the TV remote. I couldn't take it anymore. "Who is Emma?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, but the words came out shaky, almost breaking. His eyes widened for a second, and then he quickly looked away, his face turning pale. He stammered, What do you mean? She's just a friend from work." "Really? Because the texts on your phone say something else," I replied, my voice quieter, but my heart pounding in my chest. I pulled up the conversation and shoved the phone in his face. "Who is she, Mark?" He looked at the screen, his expression slowly shifting from confusion to guilt. He didn't even try to deny it. His shoulders slumped, and he sighed deeply, like he'd been caught in a lie too many times to try and hide it anymore. "It's not what you think," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I never meant for this to happen. I was lonely. I don't know. It's a mistake. It didn't mean anything." A mistake? It didn't mean anything? I couldn't process his words. My brain was reeling. "You're cheating on me, Mark," I said, my voice cracking, tears starting to well up in my eyes. "And now you're telling me it was just a mistake? That it didn't mean anything?" He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. His face twisted in frustration. "It's complicated. Emma and we've been seeing each other for a while now. I know it's messed up, and I'm sorry. But I didn't want to lose you." "Lose me?" I laughed bitterly. "You've already lost me, Mark. You've been seeing someone else behind my back, and you think I'm just going to forgive you because you're sorry?" He tried to justify himself. He apologized again, but nothing he said could make up for the betrayal I was feeling. I had never been more heartbroken in my entire life. I loved him. I really did. But now I was looking at him like he was a stranger. I didn't stay that night. I packed a bag and left the apartment. I stayed with a friend and spent the next few days in a fog. I felt like my entire world had shattered. How could he do this? How could I not see the signs? The hardest part? I kept asking myself, how long had this been going on? I'm still processing everything. It's been a couple of weeks since I found out. Mark has reached out, apologizing, begging for a second chance. But the trust is gone. I can't unsee what I saw, and I don't think I'll ever be able to. I don't know what I'm going to do. Part of me wants to believe him, wants to give him another chance, but another part of me knows I can never go back to who we were before. I'm just asking for advice, really. Am I crazy for even considering talking to him again? Should I give him a chance to make it right? Or is it too late for that?